Hey astrology friends, are you ready to explore the major energy that wraps up 2024 and leads us right into 2025? I'm talking about Mars retrograde, and this one is anything but ordinary. You know those times when life seems to take unexpected turns or when your energy reserves are in serious need of a recharge? Well, that can be Mars retrograde at work, and this one is extra special because Mars is going to emphasize not just one, but two signs this time, Leo and Cancer, while also venturing out of bounds and then opposing Pluto. The timeline looks like this. On December 6, 2024, Mars started its retrograde journey at 6 degrees Leo. On New Year's Day, Mars officially moves out of bounds, and then around January 6, 2025, Mars will head back into Cancer, where it's going to stay through April. On February 23rd, Mars stations direct at 17 Cancer. And then on April 18th, 2025, Mars is going to re-enter Leo. Well, the true wild card here is that Mars is going to be out of bounds from January 1st through April 7th, 2025. And when Mars is out of bounds, it gets supercharged. And it's also a little bit more likely to color outside the lines or to just go completely rogue. This combo of being retrograde and out of bounds is relatively rare, and it won't happen again for several years. So we're in for something special this time. But there's more. During this period, Mars is going to have three powerful face-offs with Pluto. The first one was on November 3rd, 2024, and then again on January 3rd, 2025, and during that one it's going to be retrograde and out of bounds. And then finally on April 26, 2025, well after Mars goes direct. Taken together, this series of dates describes a process and also a portal. Think of it as a gateway to more potent self-actualization. Let's talk about how to activate that potential and how you can make the most of this powerful time. Unlike other planets that retrograde often, Mars only goes retrograde about once every 2 years. This makes it unique compared to the other planetary retrograde cycles. Well, here are 3 game-changing tips to help you navigate any Mars retrograde period. The first one is to embrace the slowdown. Think of Mars retrograde like a cosmic yellow light. It's not telling you to stop completely necessarily, but it's definitely a good idea to ease off the gas pedal. Maybe you've been running at full speed and suddenly your body's saying, nope,
I'm pretty tired.
Or your projects are hitting unexpected delays. Instead of fighting this, try flowing with it. It's like when your GPS reroutes you. There might be a good reason for that detour that you can't see. Tip number 2 is to turn setbacks into comebacks. Here's the thing about Mars retrograde. It's usually your secret weapon for future success. While it might feel frustrating in the moment, this period's like having a strategic planning session with the universe. Remember, sometimes the no you get today leads to a much bigger or better yes tomorrow. Tip number 3 is to tune into your inner GPS. This is my favorite part. Mars retrograde is your chance to get really clear about what you want. We're constantly broadcasting our desires to the universe, whether we're aware of it or not. Think of this time as recalibrating your inner compass. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Not what you think you should want, but what lights you up inside. Monitoring your inner heat is a great way to track your Mars. When Mars goes direct again, you'll be like an archer who's taken the time to aim carefully and much more likely to hit your target. This isn't about stopping your journey necessarily, it's about making sure you're on the right path. Now let's talk about the interesting connection between Mars and your free will. You know that inner fire that makes you say, I'm gonna make this happen.
I am gonna make myself happy.
That's Mars energy at work. Picture Mars as your inner warrior. It's that part of you that knows what it wants and has the courage to go after it. It takes bold action to make things happen. During Mars retrograde, a new process is at hand. Instead of charging ahead like usual, you get the chance to check in on your inner compass. There's an opportunity to have a heart-to-heart with yourself about what you truly want. And here's the million-dollar question. Are you choosing your path? Or are you just running on autopilot? Think about it. Every single day you're making choices. Big ones, small ones, conscious ones, unconscious ones. Mars retrograde is like having this cosmic coach who asks, what do you really want to create? What changes are you ready to initiate now? What bold moves are calling your name? Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This process can feel frustrating at first. Maybe you had your heart set on a specific path, and suddenly the universe seems to be throwing roadblocks your way. But here's the plot twist. Those apparent setbacks, they're actually opportunities in disguise. They're inviting you to pause, reflect, and maybe even discover something better than what you originally planned. Remember, you're not stuck with your first draft of what you want. Mars retrograde's your chance to revise, reimagine, and realign with your truest desires. It's not about giving up your free will, it's about using it more consciously and powerfully than ever before. If you think Mars is just about battles and aggression, let me show you why there's so much more to this dynamic planet. Yes, in Roman mythology, Mars was the god of war, but in astrology, we're not limited to the Greco-Roman myths to see the whole picture. Mars is like your inner superhero with a whole toolkit of powers. Let's unpack that. First, let's talk about this warrior energy. You know that feeling when someone crosses a line that you've set, or maybe that you've intended to set?
Over the line? You're so far past the line that you can't even see the line. The line is a dot to you.
Well, that's healthy Mars energy at work. During this retrograde, you might notice how you handle boundaries. Maybe you're the person who always says yes when you really want to say no. Or perhaps you're discovering that you've been bulldozing over others' boundaries, maybe without even realizing it. Well, this is your chance to find that sweet spot between passive and aggressive. But here's where it gets really interesting. Mars is actually your inner powerhouse of vitality and innovation. Think of this like a cosmic battery pack that fuels your physical energy, that morning person enthusiasm, and your passionate drives, what gets you jumping out of bed instead of sliding out of bed. Your innovative spirit, those aha moments, and your catalyst energy, being that person who makes things happen. During this retrograde, some of you won't deal with conflict at all. Instead, you might find yourself discovering a new passion you never knew you had, or realigning your energy that then starts to match your true goals. You might learn to channel your drive more effectively, and you have an opportunity to find creative solutions to old frustrations. The key is to remember that Mars energy is like fire. It can provide warmth to a home, but it can also be destructive when it's not managed well. This retrograde's your chance to learn how to work with your inner flame more skillfully. Whether you're learning to speak up for yourself, to set a boundary, to manage your energy better, or channel your passion into new projects, Mars retrograde's offering you a masterclass in personal willpower. Now that doesn't sound so bad, does it? We all need to move beyond these old, too simplistic definitions of the planets that put them in just simply good or bad terms. So, are you ready to embrace Mars retrograde and discover what your Mars energy is trying to teach you? Well, before we wrap up, there's one especially unique quality of this Mars retrograde period for 2025 that I've already mentioned. Mars is going out of bounds in January. Well, what does that mean? Imagine Mars as a dancer who usually performs within a certain space on stage. When it goes out of bounds, it's like that dancer suddenly discovers they can leap higher and move beyond their usual boundaries. In astronomical terms, Mars is reaching its highest declination, and also a declination that's further than the sun's declination peak. But what does that mean for us? Think of it as Mars energy getting supercharged. When this happens, we often see people pushing beyond their normal limits in remarkable ways. Athletes might break some records. Innovators make breakthroughs. Leaders champion important causes, and pioneers venture into uncharted territory. This supercharged Mars energy can manifest as extraordinary potential for innovation, as breaking through to the top of a competitive field, as bold, authentic self-expression and strength of will, or the passionate pursuit of goals or empowered leadership. However it manifests, just like any powerful energy, this requires your conscious awareness. It's like having access to a turbo boost. Exciting, but it requires some skillful handling. The key is to channel this enhanced energy purposefully. During this period, you might find yourself breaking through personal barriers or speaking up more boldly for what matters to you. You may find yourself leading others, sometimes intentionally and sometimes by example. You may also be discovering an inner drive that helps unleash untapped potential. When we work consciously with this energy, it can lead to amazing breakthroughs. Well, this is especially true when we combine this enhanced Mars energy with wisdom and awareness, because we could also express our enhanced Mars as unchecked aggression or lashing out in frustration or explosive violent actions. And during these times, we often get an advanced lesson in conflict management. But with awareness, we can channel any anger that comes up or frustration constructively. During this period, you might ask yourself, what innovative boundaries might I be ready to push? What positive changes could I pioneer? This is your chance to channel this extraordinary energy into meaningful breakthroughs while also staying grounded in conscious awareness. Remember that with Mars also retrograde, there's some wisdom in waiting for Mars to move direct to boldly move forward. But you can still use the out of bounds energy while it's retrograde to move through blocks and conflicts, and again, get more in touch with what you really want, so that when Mars does go direct, you'll be ready to go. Mars will stay out of bounds this time through the beginning of April, long after Mars goes direct. So you'll have plenty of time to experience Mars out of bounds while it's also direct. Now, Venus will turn retrograde in March, so keep that in mind, but that's a whole different set of issues that I'll talk about another time. Well, so far, we've covered some powerful fundamentals about Mars retrograde and its unique out of bounds journey in 2025, but there's so much more to explore. If you're feeling called to dive deeper into working with this potent energy, I'd love to share more with you. In my extended Mars retrograde webinar, I'll be exploring advanced strategies for navigating this powerful period, including real-world examples from the previous Mars retrograde when Mars was retrograde and out of bounds as well. And that's going to help us understand how we want to express and actualize this energy. I'll also be sharing some essential insights about the Mars-Pluto opposition and how to engage with that. And I'll share some detailed guidance for turning challenges into opportunities during this time. This is especially important given the rare combination of Mars retrograde, out of bounds, and the Mars-Pluto dynamics that we're all going to experience. If you'd like to join me for that deeper exploration, you can register at Astrology University. The insights we've covered today are your foundation. Think of the extended class as a detailed roadmap for navigating this transformative period. Visit Astrology University where you can find the registration for the live class and also the replays afterward. Whether you join me for the webinar or not, I hope you've taken away some ideas from today's video about how to navigate Mars retrograde with a little bit more awareness while also being able to draw out some of its benefits. Reach out if you'd like some personal support during this time and visit our live event calendar at Astrology University to join us for one of our many inspiring webinars to usher in the new year. We have a lot of great classes coming up in the year ahead, so I hope to see some of you there. And until next time, take good care.